.NET Aspire is one of my favorite new pieces of technologies inside of .NET, enabling you to build these cloud-native, observable, production-ready, distributed applications. If you're like me, you got backends, you got front ends, you got a bunch of clients, and you need your applications to be resilient, observable, enhance them with telemetry, and you need that great service discovery, and that's where .NET Aspire comes in. But if you're like me, you already have existing .NET applications. You got Blazor front ends, you got MVC front ends, you got APIs on the back ends, you got mobile clients. You want to add .NET Aspire into those existing ones. And that's what I'm going to show you today. In just a few clicks, in just a few minutes, you can enable .NET Aspire in any of your .NET applications. So let's go ahead and take a look. So if we take a look at the project, it might be something very familiar to you. You have a backend here. In this case, this is a shop application that has a product endpoint backend. So we can see here it's using the minimal APIs. It has a simple get to get all the products coming back from the system. This is using Entity Framework, and it's just pulling in all the data here as well. And you can do posts and deletes and all that good stuff as well, which is nice. And there's also a front end over here. So we can see that if we go into the components, we have some layouts, we have a products page here. So just standard Blazor and Razor syntax going on here, which is nice. We can also note, if I zoom in over here, that we have services. So we have a product service that's going to communicate with that backend, that HTTP request. If I go into my app settings, it's being controlled here via the HTTP endpoints just on localhost. So when you're developing these types of applications, you'd often have to run multiple projects. So in Visual Studio, you could go into your properties, you could actually enable multi-project setup, and you could then start with both of these debugging at the same time. So it's a really nice, powerful feature of Visual Studio. But if we have a lot of projects inside of it, this is where .NET Aspire comes in to not only get rid of these sort of nasty hard-coded strings with service discovery, but also enable us to debug multiple projects while still getting tons of insight into our project as well. So let's take a look at that. The first thing I want to do is go into products. This is just the back end. It could be any of the projects I have. I'm going to right click. And if I go down to add, we're going to see an option here for .NET Aspire package, but also .NET Aspire Orchestrator support. And that's what we're going to add. We'll come back to the package thing, which is really cool in a little bit. So I'm just going to say add Orchestrator support. It's going to take a look at the project and understand what's in it, and then take a look at the Aspire packages that I have. And here we can see that it says, hey, what do you want to name the project that I'm going to create? Where do you want me to put it? So we'll use the default folder, and then it's going to create two new projects, the app host and service defaults. I'm going to hit OK here. And if we zoom in over here, we're going to see that it's created these two projects. We have the app host, we have the service defaults, and we get this nice overview page of getting started with .NET Aspire. Awesome. So cool. So what is in these projects? Well, the app host you can think of as the glue between the projects that you have. If we take a look at the dependencies, there's actually a projects node, and the products have been added here automatically, which is nice. Additionally, there's this app hosting .NET Aspire NuGet package that is going to be the app host that is the glue. Now, there's only one little program, CS file in here. It's a distributed application for .NET Aspire, and it's adding the project via this project's product. It's using some source generators behind the scenes to generate these things automatically, which is pretty awesome. Now there's this other project which is a service defaults, and this one's actually really, really interesting. If we take a look at the NuGet packages, we can see that it's using HTTP resiliency, service discovery, open telemetry, all of the different ones in here for ASP.NET Core, runtime, and a bunch more. And we can see that it is a .NET Aspire shared project that will be shared across any project enrolled in .NET Aspire. So if we look at the extensions.cs, we're going to notice this really, really important method here, add service defaults. It takes in the host application builder. It will configure OpenTelemetry, default health checks, service discovery. It will add in standard resiliency, a handler right here, and discovery service for the HTTP client. It will also then configure OpenTelemetry with all the things that you could possibly want by default. And you could, of course, modify this to your liking. And then it'll have OpenTelemetry exporters. So by default, it has one built in. If you have an OpenTelemetry endpoint, you can go ahead and specify that there. But you can also go ahead and export this to Prometheus, or you could export it to the Azure Monitor service as well, which is really cool. And there's a bunch of other stuff in here. So just health checks that are built in, default endpoint handling with the health and alive mapping in there automatically for you. So it handles it all for you, which is really, really nice. So we have this project and it's here. So if we run this project, what we're going to see is that we're running the app host. We can see that the app host here is bolded because that became our startup project. And we can see once I bring this over that the app host is started up here using the .NET Aspire orchestration process. And then what it's going to do is launch, here we go, awesome, our .NET Aspire dashboard. As my name of the project, eShop Lite. And we can go ahead and change this over here to dark. There we go. And this is beautiful. It's using the Fluent UI package for Blazor, which is awesome. It's an awesome Blazor app. So what do we get here? Well, first and foremost, we can see that we have a project of products that's running. I have two endpoints. I have an HTTPS and an HTTP. I can click on that. It's going to go and hit that endpoint so we can see all the products coming back. We can then view logs, for example. We can see the raw logs that are coming in. I love structured logs, to be honest with you. So here's all the things that are coming in. And we can see there's actually a stack trace here in this beautiful view, which is saying like the browser hit products. So it's not super interesting right now because we just have one endpoint, but it's here. We also get these metrics though, and this is all coming from that open telemetry. So we can see the active requests coming in, for example, here, the duration, we can see the match attempts, connections, TLS handshakes, requests that are queued. You know, there's not too much happening here because I just hit that at once, but we get all these active requests and connections and duration. So this is awesome with very little work at all. If I just have a backend, I get this great insight into my application that's off and running, which is pretty astonishing. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop that. And now let's go ahead and configure our front end project, the store, to communicate with our backend. That's what we're going to need to do. So we're also going to right click and we're going to add .NET Aspire Orchestrator support. And now Visual Studio is saying, hey, this project already exists and it needs to update it to add the store orchestrator in there. All right, cool. So now we can see that the project's been added automatically, which is kind of cool. That just updated right there. If I look at the dependencies, we'll see that there's multiple projects here. And if we take a look first and foremost in that products, over here, the one that we were just running, we can see that this add service default was added because a reference over here to that project was added. So that's how that was configured automatically for us. So just that one line of code was injected. Now, based on the version that you have, it should automatically inject it. I'm running hot bits over here. I'm just going to go ahead and add this automatically. I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop this store. So I'm running preview 5 right now of Aspire and preview 3 of Visual Studio 2022-1710. So this should all be fixed up. That should automatically configure everything for you, and those lines of code should be added for you. In this instance right now, there's a didn't do it for me because it's still in preview. But that's all you need to do is say add service defaults. And then all I did was I drag and dropped service defaults onto store, which then configured this project here. So that's all you need to do. Okay, so the one thing that I didn't mention too much were these IDs, and these IDs become very important part of the service discovery. So the products, this ID is going to be important when we're configuring how to communicate to it in any other project. So we need to basically add a reference and say, hey, store, become aware of products here, and then enroll into the service discovery. So I'm going to actually say var products. And I'm going to set it equal to this because this add project returns an iResource builder coming back to me, which then I can use somewhere else. So on this project, I can say with a reference, and I can say please reference the products. And now .NET Aspire will know that the store front end would like to use and be aware of the product backend. And what that means is in service discovery, we can use this ID. So if I open up that app settings again over here, we can go ahead and change this HTTP or the HTTPS, whatever we want to use, to automatically use products. And then .NET Aspire will handle all the product endpoint orchestration for us automatically. And here we can see that the HTTP builder client that I'm using here in the builder service is just calling that configuration file. So that's how it's going to pull it down automatically. So instead of having to hard code the string or worry about it anywhere else, this will automatically handle it for me, which is nice. So in this case, I could get rid of this entire configuration and it would, just hard code that string in there if I wanted to, but this is nice that it's still configurable there. Okay, so now all I need to do is run this project. All right, so we have our service defaults in both program CS here and another program CS here. We have the add service defaults, and again, our dashboard is going to launch. There we go. So I'm going to put this back in dark mode for us. There we go. Cool. So now we'll see we not only have our products over here, we also have our store front end. So I can go ahead and click on that. And this is going to use that backend service, and I can prove it to you. So if I come down over here into my products endpoints, let's just go ahead and add a breakpoint here. There we go. So we're going to say get on that product. I'm going to go back over to my browser, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh that. And sure enough, there it is. I go ahead and have it right there, which is really cool. So there we go. It's hitting that backend all in real time. So now what we are able to get are more of those logs. So here's all the logs as normal, but again, I love structured logs. So now we're going to have more information. We're going to have information such as that store hitting the products. So for example, now, if I take a look at one of these traces, we can see that we have the store in the browser for the get, going off, calling get of the products, and coming back. If I just tap on the main traces, this is a pretty cool view too. So if you have a lot of different microservices communicating together, you're going to see all of them coming in. So we can see all of those requests, the duration of those requests, and a lot more. So again, now I'm able to look at the store, look at those active requests that are coming in, all in real time, which is pretty neat. So if I refresh this, we're going to see those hits again. And then we're going to see back over here, we're going to get more requests, active requests coming into the server over here, which is really, really nice. Now, a few other things to note over here is this details. This is pretty nice. When you tap on this, this has this nice slider, and we're going to see the resource, the state of it. We're going to see the project path where it's coming from, the process ID, all the endpoints, but we're also going to see all of the environment variables that .NET Aspire set up for us automatically. So here we have like all the different URLs that are coming in. We have the launch profile that's coming in. We get all of the open telemetry things. So this is all configured automatically by default for us when we go ahead and look at that. And the same can be said for the store. We might have a few different ones since that's the Blazor application. So all of those environment variables are still there. So they're overridable later on if you want. So it's really nice to see all of these come in to the project. Okay, so now we have our backend communicating with our front end, but maybe we want to do more. What if we wanted to add, I don't know, caching into this project? What would you need to do? Well, you need to go figure out all the packages that you need. You need to figure out the endpoints. You need to download the containers, and you need to figure out everything for you. Well, now with .NET Aspire, it handles all of that automatically. All you need to do is on your app host is I'm going to go in and I'm going to say add, and I'm going to say .NET Aspire package. You can do this not only on the host, but also on the different clients or the different projects that you've added. So here I'm going to say .NET Aspire package. So we can see the owner, Aspire. We get all these different pre-releases here coming in. And I'm going to go ahead and add the Redis one. And here we go. 8.0 preview 5 is the one that I'm on. Here we go. So I'm just going to install that. Cool. So we can go ahead and add the Redis hosting. I'm going to include that NuGet package. Perfect. And if I go back into that program CS, now I can come in and I can say var cache equals builder dot add Redis, and I can give it a name. Okay. So just like that. And then I can say, okay, store, let me say with a reference, let me add the cache. All right. Now at this point, I would need to go implement caching actually in the Blazor project. Now, again, I would need to go figure out the correct NuGet packages and all the things that I would need inside this project. But a nice thing about .NET Aspire is I can add a .NET Aspire package. Now, in this case, this is a component. So this is a little bit different. I could come in and I could add here my .NET 8 version of this package for the Aspire Stack Exchange Redis. And this is the Redis client that would integrate into the Blazor project. I could add output caching, distributed caching, whichever ones that I need inside this project here are all going to be available to me. And there are tons of different components, not only specifically for here the hosting model to add these things. There's tons of Azure SQL, we have MySQL, we have Postgres, we have all different things inside of here, which is really nice. Same thing on the clients as well. We have all these different ones. If I wanted to add messaging here with hubs, for example, or if I wanted to add Azure data tables or Cosmos DB, They're all here ready to go. And there's even, of course, PostgresSQL as well. We'll take a look at that in a second. So we could add those in there. But let's just see what happens if I add it here to the back end. This one line of code, we're adding it with reference, and all I'm going to do is go ahead and run the application again. So all I did was add a NuGet package and add this add Redis here. So here we go. Here's our local host, and we'll see that the container is now here, and it's starting up, and it's Redis 724. Now, it's interesting here that it's starting and now running on this TCP. You might be wondering, well, where does this container, where's that running? Well, it's because I have Docker Desktop running here. And in fact, I can see that here's my image for Redis. It's ready to use. It was just downloaded actually. And then the container here. So here's the container, it's running, and then I would use the Redis Cache container just right there. I'd be off to the races, ready to go, which is pretty awesome. Okay. Well, what else can I do, right? Like, let's really stress test this thing and some of the simplicity that Aspire adds. So I'm going to go back into the app host, add again. I'm going to do an Aspire package. And let's go ahead and add the Postgres in here. So I'm going to say post and Postgres here. And again, I'm going to add 8.0 package. Perfect. And then we're just going to apply that here. Rad. And if you wanted to spin up an entire Postgres backend, right, that's going to be quite a lot to learn. Well, not with dotnet Aspire. Here I can go in and I'm going to say var db equals builder dot add Postgres. Yeah, you probably guessed it. Yeah, I'm going to say db in here. And then I will say with a PgAdmin. Let me just add a Postgres admin inside of here. Why not? Now, in this case, the backend would probably use this, right? So I could say with reference here, and then I would say db. And then now automatically with the service discovery, I could then add that client into the products, get that reference with the DB, and I'd get that DB coming back to me. So again, let's go ahead and run this here. Now I want to show you here that we're going to have our images that are going to need to be downloaded. I don't have any other images, just the Redis one. And what we'll see here is that we now have the cache that's running super fast because it's already downloaded, the container image, the database and the PgAdmin are all going to be up here, and it's going to download, hopefully on my relatively fast internet, and pop up inside of the images. So once those get downloaded, basically .NET Aspire will wait for us. So there's Postgres. It's in use now. We can actually take a look at the container. There it is automatically running for me. If I come back over, next up is going to be the PgAdmin. There it is, PgAdmin 4. Let me go ahead and zoom in here. We can see them there, the versions that are coming in. And then we can see the container is in use, so nothing is happening there. So that's really cool. I can go ahead and tap on that PgAdmin URL, and it's going to bring me to /browser. Now, sometimes on some computers takes like 30 seconds or a minute to start up based on how fast it is, but we're now going to see the Aspire instance, databases, we're going to see the Postgres, it's going to see all the normal PgAdmin stuff, all configured automatically for us, which is super duper rad, which is cool. So now I also love this where we have like all the containers running. If I just go ahead and like shut this down, what we're going to see is like, boom, it's going to shut down all the containers and everything's going to be handled for us automatically. Okay, so there's one more thing that I want to talk about here too, is by default here on this Redis, we are using the default Redis container image. So 724 is what it shows here. Now, one nice thing is that it's just sort of like the Redis implementation. There's other sort of implementations that work with the API there. So for example, we could use Garnet, which is a remote cache store from the Microsoft research team. And this is cool because it also works with existing Redis clients. So let's go ahead and like check this out, right? So here I'm going to go into docs. I'm going to go into the releases. And if I scroll down, I'm just going to go ahead and copy the container registry for Garnet. And then what I'm going to do here is on this .add Redis, I'm going to say with over here, and there's going to be all these different things. So with Redis Commander, with the TLP export, but I can actually say with image. I can say, please use this image. And then I'm going to say with image tag. I'm going to say latest. All right. So when I do that, this is now going to use the Garnet one for us automatically. So if I go back into my images, we're going to see that when this spins up, the Postgres, the DB-admin, those are going to be in use, but the Redis one won't. So you're going to notice here that starting, it's running, but oh, the source here is the Garnet latest tag. And that's going to go ahead and download that container image. There it is right there. It's already in use, totally good to go. And we now have our endpoint. I can view my logs, and sure enough, there is Garnet ready to go, all set automatically for us. And that is really from start to finish, being able to easily configure .NET Aspire in your application. Look how beautiful this is, using a Postgres database with PgAdmin, with Redis, with Garnet, using service discovery, all configured for us automatically. And then next up, of course, is we can easily deploy this into cloud backends. And that's really how easy it is and how this amazing orchestrator support in Visual Studio 2022 all handles everything for you. All right, there you have it, from start to finish, taking the sample, adding in the backends to .NET Aspire, adding the front end to .NET Aspire, adding Postgres, adding Redis, using Garnet, checking out how it handles everything in Docker Desktop and everything for you automatically. Now, of course, the next part is actually deploying it, right? So actually deploying it using something like Azure Container Apps. You can actually right-click Publish directly from Visual Studio. I'll put a link to all the documentation below. There's a great tutorial walkthrough that shows you this in detail, but I wanted to use this as a more of a going a little bit further, explaining things in more details. If you're using .NET Aspire in your applications, let me know in the comments below. If you're brand new and you want more of an introductory video out there, there's great videos by other community members kind of walking through FileNew, but I want to kind of show how to set this up. But I'll put a few links as well to David Fowler and Glenn and other folks that are building .NET Aspire, their sessions from .NET Conf, the community stand-ups that they've done. Check out those additional links in the show notes below. If you have any questions at all, leave it below, of course. And of course, thanks for watching. If you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And of course, jam on that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. So until next time, thanks for watching.